Hi, the Lee Farnell here from Leading Your Best Life. Now, this podcast is super important because it's a podcast that everybody that's involved in teams, families, businesses, once you deal with other people or even yourself, but certainly with other people, and the more people you deal with, the more you need to have this in place and know how to actually prevent issues. We call it bruising, fruit being bruised. People being bruised, people being unnecessary dysfunction and upset. Stay tuned because this is such an important podcast. Well, this has come about because, these days, besides working with many different clients and having worked with over 400 different clients over, 40 or more years, in my own personal life, I'm involved with a pod squad, the ocean swimming group. We now have, 480, 490 people on the WhatsApp group. This morning, there were 63 people swimming in the water with us. So you've got people of all abilities, all backgrounds, all capacities, all different personalities, and we have a whole policy of inclusion and we call it an ecosystem of positivity, staying positive. But occasionally little things happen where issues arise, and literally yesterday we had a Christmas lunch and a number of issues were raised. We call them Kaizen items, ways, things that had been bubbling along. And what happened was one of my very good friends literally had a shopping list of issues and items that he wanted to discuss with me. And I'm in a state of semi-shock because the crazy thing is this person's been a long-term friend, but of course at no stage in friendship you go, listen, if we've got an issue we need to sort it out. We haven't actually set what we call the fruit bowl, how we agree to work together, but not only that, how we agree to resolve issues. Now, as a friend of mine, Mel Emery, once said, issues and problems are not like wine or cheese. The longer you leave them, the better they get. No, issues and problems usually, the longer you leave them, the more they brew and the more they stew. So a minor issue which could have been resolved within 24 hours bubbles away in the subconscious, bubbles away. Husbands talk to wives and wives talk to husbands and someone else talks to someone else, and all of a sudden the conversation has been had with 10 or 20 other people, yabba, 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 but not with the actual person who can and should do something about it. So I want to just deal with a couple of things here. One, when you are working with other people, it's the sooner you can get to this conversation, the better. And actually we talk about the 4 phases of any relationship. The honeymoon is over, the sorting it out phase, and then the high performance phase, when eventually a new person comes in, and it goes on and on because you've got to keep doing this. And that's why we talk about the importance of doing the fruit bowl, setting the rules of the relationship early on. I've got an article on this, our fruit bowl article, if anyone wants it. And so when we're talking with teams, leadership teams in particular, because when we say if there's a crack in leadership, there's a tidal wave at the front line. If there's a crack in leadership, if there's seen to be a crack in solidarity at leadership, it immediately weakens the ecosystem, the synergy, the synchronized energy, the harmony. If you look at emotional intelligence, team emotional intelligence, it's all there in Goleman's book. The number one predictor of great people performing average to poor is dysfunction and drama and bitching and backbiting. So how to prevent it? Well, first of all, you have to do what we call the fruit bowl exercise. I'm going to just run through some of the questions here that you really must make sure you cover off early on. And this is the power of induction. It's also the power of making sure you do a personal development program with your people so you get people aligned in their thinking. Because if you want people aligned in their behavior and in their action, people think, we just do a project plan and everything will be okay. Yeah, it's not a bad start, but you actually need to have a project fruit bowl, a structure, the context, put it in context. Now let's just run through some of the questions. What are our goals? What are we trying to achieve here? Why are we doing it? What's the purpose of doing it? How are we going to measure our success? What are the top 5 KPIs for success here? And you say, well, they're just standard things you do. Let's go to the next one. How are we going to go about making decisions? How we make decisions here? Does one person, the CEO and the MD or whoever, make the decision and everyone else just follow? Or is it discussed consensus and we have a consensus decision? Or do we vote on decisions? Is it the most votes win? Then we go, are they data-based decisions or are they opinion-based decisions? Obviously, data-based decisions are way better versus just loud voices or angry voices. And invariably, why is it angry? Because in most cases, there's been drama and dysfunction and poor emotional intelligence in terms of self-management, or the person's been bubbling away on their shopping list of complaints for goodness knows how long. And as we say, they do not get better with like wine or cheese. No, they brew and stew. But then how often do we meet? How are we going to meet and how often do we meet? Oh, we're going to meet once every 6 months. Oh, really? Well, where we start to build in progress meetings, accountability meetings, learning meetings, celebration meetings, and again, we do a whole thing around in any meeting, is it information sharing, is it decision making, or is it brainstorming options. There's a range of how you run those meetings. I know my mates at BHP really drilled that whole meeting process in place, because so many people say meetings are a damn waste of time, only because they're not following the right structure. They're talk fests instead of structured decision making fests. What are the agenda items when we meet? And then what are our rules around taking responsibility versus is it okay to blame or make excuses? Is it okay to backbite and bitch to everyone else rather than, hang on, there's a problem, let's sit down with the person who can do something about it and solve it? What are our rules around punctuality? What are our rules around keeping agreements? Mate, you say you're going to be here on time, be on time, keep agreements. What are our rules around telling the truth? Or do we walk around and dance around, we can't say that, that'll upset him, or we can't, that's too sensitive an issue, our rules around giving and receiving feedback. How is that done? Is it okay to receive feedback? And of course, being grateful for feedback, we say feedback is a gift as distinct from feedback as punishment. We say, of course, praise in public, have corrective feedback discussion in private. Our rules around how we communicate, email, phone, WhatsApp, Slack groups, Facebook. How are we going to communicate with each other so that we're all in the loop and there's transparency of communication? Or how much transparency is there going to be? How much are we going to keep to ourselves because those poor people at the front line can't handle too much information or gets them confused? Transparency. Our rules around dealing with upset and issues, and that's what I'm talking about here. If someone's upset, got an issue, let's agree to solve it ASAP. Let's get in a room and talk about it. We've got an issue. I'm going to give you some tools on that in just a second. Our rules around data-driven decision-making, using data. Where are the facts here? What facts are you talking about? Be specific. Give me 1, 2, or 3 examples of when that actually happened, as distinct from your assumption or hallucination or taking a snippet of information and turning it into some major drama. Our rules around making assumptions on too little information or data. Our rules around following up. Did you do it? When's it going to be done by? Our rules around sandbox and staying out of each other's sandboxes, out of each other's patches. All of a sudden marketing's involved in sales or sales is involved in finance, and hang on, and you're cutting across lines of responsibility, lines of leadership. Our rules around calling each other out if a person's operating outside the agreed behaviour. Like at one stage, the woman said the other day at Oryx, and she used to work at Bunnings, and the rule they had was everyone would always leave through the front door for, I think, to say farewell to each other. It was a way of connecting. It was a way of talking to customers, whatever the reason was. And one day the state manager was going out the side door, and one of the lower staff members called him out on it. He says, "Thank you for calling me out. Thank you for calling me out." It shows that our systems are working. There's integrity rather than there's one set of rules for one people, but there's a different set of rules for the leaders in the place. You can't have that. It weakens the integrity of the whole fruit bowl. It weakens the integrity of the rules. Remember, integrity. Integrity is, if I shake my desk, does it shake and fall over, or does it have integrity and stays in place? That's what we want. We don't want a shaky desk. We don't want a shaky set of rules. Rules and around celebrations, catching people doing things right. People reward the behaviour you want repeated. Reward the behaviour you want repeated so that people know what you're looking for, but at the same time you're giving positive associations and positive vibes with the behaviour you want repeated. Catch people doing things right. Our rules around systems and processes. Okay, got a problem? What's the system here? Got a problem? What's the process here? It's not the person. What's the system or the process that needs to be changed or fixed or modified? Our rules around being real versus bullshitting each other. Calling people out on bullshit. Where's the data? Don't just give me your opinion. Don't try and bullshit me. Don't try and avoid responsibility. And again, this is why we do personal development in that, so we're all on the same page in this area. What other areas might there need to be? How we work together, and before what we do, how we work together. Some people just are nitpickers, that they're in the business of finding fault, versus catch people doing things right. Okay, if there's fault, how do we fix it? If there's fault, how do we fix it? If there's fault, don't sit on it and go trying to score points and try to create division between people. There are people that get their jollies off trying to create division within people, and that's how they get their power. Let's break the group up so that I can get more status. If that's the case, you call them out on that behaviour, because it's dysfunctional and it's undermining the power of the group, and no one person is more important than the group. But poor fragile egos try and pull that stunt all the time. I literally use ChatGPT to just say, hey, what are 10 ways to open a conversation when you want to deal with an issue or you've got a series of issues. Now, what I had done earlier this morning was do some brainstorming myself around how do you open up that conversation. If you've got an issue with someone or you want to have a talk with someone, to start that sorting it out conversation. It might be something simple as, can we talk? It might be, I'd like to talk to you about some issues. Are you open for some feedback? Are you open to actually have a conversation? Look, there's some issues, Bob, Mary, Jane, I think we need to talk about. There's some issues we need to actually sort out. We need to block half an hour away to make that happen. Look, can we just clarify some issues? Because can we actually get on the same page on these issues? Because it's what we teach. Talk to the person who can do something about it, not everyone else, before you talk to that person. As I said, if you've got issues with me, talk to me about them first, or at least talk to me before you talk to everyone else. Now, ideally, the idea is once we've resolved it, you don't then go back and tell everybody else about what went on. So it really is about trust and transparency. And of course, then when the feedback comes, I think there's due process. And so this is what, give the person a chance to talk. And because in most cases, people are doing things from a point of good intention, which is what NLP says. People operate from a point of good intention. They don't come to say, I'm going to create havoc, I'm going to come to stuff you up. But the last thing you want is someone walking around with a shopping list of issues and complaints, but not having spoken to the people who can do something about it. So we talk about the sandwich technique, which is where you start with the positive, have the message, and then finish on a positive. How you engage, what's our higher purpose, what do we both agree we both want here, what's the common ground before we actually go into the issues. So in other words, start from a point of common ground. Now again, when I did the ChatGPT, what are 10 ways to open a conversation when you want to deal with an issue or a series of issues with someone? 1, start on a positive note. Look, Bob, Mary, look, I really do appreciate the work you've been doing lately, but I wanted to discuss a few things with you to make sure we're on the same page. Start with the positive, the sandwich technique. 2, express concerns using I statements. Look, I've noticed some challenges and I wanted to talk about how we can address them. Look, I noticed these things the other day. I had this experience. Or it could be, I was talking to Mary the other day and this is what she said. But ideally don't throw other people under the bus, I think. Keep it in yourself. Look, I noticed you doing this. I heard you say this. We need to talk about that. We need to fix that. We need to make sure that doesn't happen. And this is why. Ask for input. Look, I value your thoughts. I value your perspective. Can we talk about some of the concerns I have and get your thoughts on how we can handle them? Some of your thoughts I have on being late. Some of your thoughts I have on, self-promotion. Some of your thoughts on being a little too familiar with some of the people. Some of your thoughts on some of the jokes that I've heard you say around women or around, disabled people or around customers or whatever it is. 4, use a neutral opener. Look, there's something on my mind that I think we should discuss. Can we just find some time to chat about that? Is that okay with you, Bob, Mary, Jack? So start in a positive, express concerns using I statements, ask for input, use a neutral opener, refer to the shared goals. Point 5, I believe we both want the project to succeed. I believe we both want this whole place to stay positive and high performing. So look, let's talk about a few aspects I think need some attention if we're going to actually achieve that goal, if we're going to actually ensure that success. Is that okay with you? When could we meet to do that? 6, frame it as a collaborative effort. I've been thinking about how we can improve certain aspects of our work, whether it be punctuality, customer service, sales, marketing. Can we brainstorm together and get some solutions? Which again, that's where you start to use the GROW method: goals, reality, brainstorm options, and then W, a written, who's going to do what by when. So it's a written plan coming off the back of it with accountability in it. I want to find out more about that, touch base as well. But that's so 6 was frame it as a collaborative effort. 7, express your intentions clearly. 8, highlight specific situations, and that's what NLP talks about, being sensory specific. Don't just talk in general. Oh, you've been too friendly, or you haven't been friendly enough, or you're coming to work grumpy. No, what does that look like? Well, it means you slamming the door when you come in and not saying hello to anyone as you walk by. So highlight specific situations. There was a situation recently that got me thinking. I'd like to discuss it with you and see how we can avoid similar issues in the future. It's where you said to me, and then you sent me this email, and then this happened and this happened. I think there's a better way of handling it. Let's look back at that and see what we can do differently. To not bruise the fruit. That's what we're talking about with the fruit bowl. We don't want the apples bruising the bananas. We don't want marketing bruising sales. We don't want finance being bruised by operations, etc., etc. Yeah, so there was a specific situation recently that got me thinking, and I'd like to discuss it with you and see how we can avoid similar issues in the future. 9, use humour to lighten the mood. Look, I've discovered a bit of a mystery in our workflow. I've discovered a bit of a mystery in our sales here. I've discovered a mystery in our operations, and I need your detective skills to help me solve it. Can we talk about a few things that really have been bothering me? When can we do that? Can we do that now? Can we meet in an hour's time or this afternoon? How does that sound to you, Bob? I need your detective skills. That's good. Yeah, that's good. 10, be direct and honest. I think it's important for us to address a couple of issues. Can we have an open and honest conversation about what's been going on? Can we have an open and honest conversation? Are you open to an open and honest conversation about what's going on? These are all fantastic openers. I highly recommend you use. You want to get a copy of them, touch base with me. And the list, I might even put it in the show notes. We'll see how we go there. But the thing is, remember to maintain a positive and constructive tone throughout the conversation and focus on finding solutions rather than placing blame. Focus on solutions. That's exactly right. Focus on the systems, focus on the solutions, focus on the process rather than placing blame. Well, it's Mary's fault, it's Joan's fault, she. No. Forget the person. What's the action we want different moving forward? What's the system we want different moving forward? If the person has a pattern, and this is the thing we talk about, if they do it something once, no big deal. Do it twice, look out. 3 times, okay, that's a pattern, we've got to jump on it. And the person then is given the feedback, we need to change this because it's a pattern. I've seen it happen 3 times and we don't want it happening in the future. So how are you going to manage that? How's it going to happen? So active listening and empathy are crucial components of successful issue resolution discussions. Now, we've done a number of other podcasts on active listening because we see people thinking that talking over the top of someone, not letting someone finish a sentence, giving answers or even finishing other people's sentences, that's not active listening, my friend. In fact, what you're doing is training them to go, I don't really want to talk with you because you're not going to listen and you're just going to talk over the top of me, and that's really not helping our relationship or get the best out of me. So there's 10 areas. Let's just go back over them. Start up with a positive note. Express concerns using I statements. Ask for input. Use a neutral opener. Refer to shared goals. Frame it as a collaborative effort. Express your intentions clearly. Highlight specific situations. Use humour to lighten the mood. Be direct and honest. I hope this helps because really the very business I'm in as Lee Funnell Best Business and Performance Development Consultants is bringing the best out of groups of people and individuals when we're talking about sport. But in general, I'm particularly interested in teams, groups of human beings, executive teams, sporting teams, leadership teams, sales teams, customer service teams, human beings who are under the same roof trying to work towards a common goal to get the best out of themselves. And we know, as Napoleon Hill said, in terms of the whole spirit and the metaphysics of the mastermind, no 2 minds can come together in a spirit of harmony and cooperation working towards a common goal without creating a third mind, which is Buckminster Fuller's synergy, synchronized energy. So working together in a calm harmonious state. We don't need upset, we don't need drama, we don't need friction. As Robert Kiyosaki said to me years ago in the program Money and You, to the degree you have drama and friction in your team or life is to the degree you will not be realizing your full potential. It's performance equals potential minus interference from the inner game of golf. Performance equals potential minus interference. To the degree you have friction and interference and drama, all the potential you have it'll be like sand in oil. You'll be creating friction. You'll be creating trouble for yourself. You won't be realizing your God-given talent, the potential, the beautiful human potential you have as a team. Want to find out more, touch base with us, because this is what we specialize in. I hope this helps. As we say, problems and issues do not get better with age. So you want the handout, want to touch base, do so, but practice this. Deliberately practice starting important, some people call them crucial conversations, so that it ties in with a harmonious, high-performing fruit bowl. As we said, start with the how discussion before you start with the what discussion. Look forward to hearing from you. I'm Lee Farnell. Thanks for listening. Go lead your best life. See you next time.